Ivo Pogorelich playing Les Tuileries from Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition. Ivo, welcome to In Tune. That was a characteristically thoughtful and rather unusual interpretation. Most people take that faster and see it as a bright, cheerful little picture in the middle of rather darker, stormier things. How do you see it?
As a picture.
How do you mean?
Simply as a picture with all its details.
I mean, how do you begin interpreting a well-known piece like that?
By examining it. I have to say that when it comes to pictures at an exhibition, I didn't want to play them for a very long time. Not because of the one that we have just heard, but because of some other ones where I just simply couldn't figure out what technical solutions were needed. And one day I was blessed with a bit of insight, and so I started working. Didn't make the work easier, but I think it made it more convincing to me, and I think that I was able to actually reproduce the image of the pictures, bringing them to the wealth of expressions that one usually expects from the famous orchestral version.
Now, you're going to give a recital at London's Royal Festival Hall 2 weeks tonight to raise money, in a sense, for a real collection of pictures, aren't they?
I wish the world stops behaving to give us such causes, and I really wish that one day there would not be a need for such charitable performances, but unfortunately what we are seeing in the world now still prompts us to do so.
Tell us what this collection is and where it is and what's happened to it.
Well, I don't know the details and I don't want to go into it. It is just that my role in that event is to play the music, and the role of fundraisers is to see how best to apply the funds that they will be collecting.
This is the Town Museum in Vukovar in eastern Croatia. The city was almost destroyed in 1991 by Serb-dominated forces, and it was handed back to Croatia last year. But this is your homeland, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is my homeland, and I have to say that I did meet a few people who survived the catastrophe of Vukovar. I spoke to them and I heard their stories, quite horrific stories. And my wish is that these people would be able to return to their homes and rebuild their city.
You were born in Belgrade.
Yes.
I mean, to ask a blunt question, are you Serb? Are you Croatian?
No. I am Croat. My father is Croat. My mother is Serb. Now, I was born in Belgrade and I lived there for the first 11 years of my life.
And the museum, as I say, was almost destroyed. The collection survives. I think the pictures are, and the other exhibits are in safekeeping, but this is to raise money for it. And there's a raffle during the evening, as well as the concert, offering such prizes as a weekend for two in the Hotel Esplanade in Zagreb, 2 return tickets to any destination in Croatia, and so on. I think to us here, that sounds like being offered tickets to Belfast during the worst of the Irish troubles, but that probably isn't fair at all. Is it a country that's visitable?
Totally contrary. I just returned from Zagreb, where I was the day before yesterday. I attended a wedding ceremony of somebody whom I know, and it is perfectly safe. I traveled on British Airways.
Right. Well, as I say, this recital that you're giving is in the Royal Festival Hall a fortnight tonight, Monday the 26th of April. I think we ought to hear you play now. We're going to hear one of the pieces from Ravel's 3-movement suite, Gaspard de la Nuit. That actually contains some of the most difficult writing for piano there is, doesn't it, in one of the movements, I think?
Yes, it is generally thought so.
But this is Ondine, which isn't technically challenging so much as what, emotionally challenging?
As well as technically.
Yes, technically as well as emotionally challenging. Ivo Pogorelich playing Ondine from Ravel's Gaspard de la Nuit. Ivo, it would be an understatement to say that you're a controversial performer. A year ago, for example, you had a review by Brian Hunt in the Daily Telegraph of a festival hall recital you gave, which included Chopin's Opus 28 Preludes. He said your performance was eccentric, indulgent and exasperating. But then he went on to say that your performance of Romeo's Farewell from Prokofiev's piano transcription of his Romeo and Juliet ballet score received a performance which no one who heard it will forget. The range and subtlety of colour was incredible. The emotional charge hypnotic. Do you read reviews?
No.
Which probably answers my next question, is how you feel about that sort of response from the critics. Do you just not care either way?
Well, I don't know what their credentials are and what criteria brings them to become part of the staff of the newspapers. I once remember a recording of mine was reviewed by someone here in England who had a diploma in agriculture, but perhaps for absence of places on the tractors down in the fields, he was offered a place as an editor and someone who reported on concerts and recordings. So I really can't comment on that.
Nonetheless, you have deliberately courted controversy since the beginning. In 1980, at the age of 21...
I beg your pardon?
1981, 80, you were 21, you...
Could you please repeat, deliberately courted? In what way?
Well, I mean, at the famous Chopin piano competition incident...
What was there to deserve such words that I have done?
Well, you did dress unusually in that
Not
contest,
at all. This
no?
is something that was reported absolutely out of the blue.
Really? They said that you dressed strangely and that you played in a maverick way and you were barred from the final round. It was the beginning of a spectacular career for you. So
I was not admitted to the finals. That is a different consideration altogether, but had nothing to do with my dresses. It had to do with the decision of the Department of the Ministry of Culture of Soviet Union, which is the famous, notorious department for international competitions, which had its own budget and people who were working and traveling with Soviet pianists to the international competition, something that was very important for the glorification of that state at the time when it existed, and it had to do with a premeditated decision which was arrived at approximately 1 year before the competition in Warsaw took place, for which we all knew who the winner would be. I was at that time a student in Moscow.
It actually got your career off to a good start in an ironic way, didn't it? Because you became famous because of that incident.
Yes, I became famous overnight. That is the consequence of it. But also with that fame came many, many things which I feel were more or less showing like a barometer, more or less depicting the actual level of understanding and culture in various countries, not much to the credit of your country and the things that were written over the years on my piano playing.
So you really dismiss this notion that you have wanted to attract attention through...
It has nothing to do with me. I'm sorry, but I have to say that my entire career shows determination to the subject of it, and I probably more often than not have had and will still have to remind people who write about music about the fact that I am a musician equipped with a diploma and therefore qualified to do my work.
Do you prefer, I think you prefer, from looking at your output, playing solo to working with orchestras, doing concertos and so on, yeah?
Yes, well, not so that I prefer. I do like to play with orchestra as well, but there are various factors involved, such as the availability of time and the choice of conductors and many, many factors, including union rights in certain countries that I feel are overprotective, and so it is sometimes questionable of how good the preparation for a particular performance with the orchestra could be given the factor of time that is provided for rehearsal.
We're going to hear a track from your new Deutsche Grammophon release, Chopin's Scherzo, the number 3 in C-sharp minor, opus 39. I haven't looked at the disc yet, it's sitting next door. Is it all Chopin?
It is 4 scherzi.
All right. Why did you pick these?
For no other reason than what the music contains.
And do you see this as in any way an individualistic, unconventional interpretation? How would you describe it yourself?
No, I don't see. I think the best way to describe music is to listen to it and then come to one's own conclusions.
Ivo Pogorelich, we will do that. Thank you very much. And you're playing in the Royal Festival Hall 2 weeks tonight, Monday the 26th of April at
Thank you.
7. Thank you very much indeed. Scherzo number 3 in C-sharp minor, opus 39, played by Ivo Pogorelich, who was the first interviewee in my radio career who I almost thought might be going to hit me when I asked that question about his deliberately courting publicity. His festival hall recital in 2 weeks from now is in aid of the restoration of the Town Museum in Vukovar in Croatia.